Okay, welcome everyone to our Family Care Nutrition webinar. Today's topic is on healthy aging. Be sure to stay here until the very end, and we will be giving away a promo code for our Family Care Nutrition website. So before we get into it, let me introduce the speaker, Elvis Ali. He is our resident nutritionist at Family Care Nutrition, and he is one of the first full-time graduates of CCNM, and he is an author of several books and research papers. So I'll let Elvis take it away.
Thank you so much, Alvin. Well, welcome to our monthly meeting once again on healthy aging. At one time, people were looking at so much research, how to reverse aging. Well, in a nutshell, each and every one of us will age. But we go through the stages, which I would like to really briefly talk about that, talk about what supplements you could use for healthy aging, but also to introduce you to different parts of the body that age each and every one of us, be it our third decade of life, fourth, fifth, and so forth. And then talk a lot about what are certain things that we can help to reduce oxidative stress with a lot of focus on one product called resveratrol. And then we'll open it up for questions and answers. To start off, Dr. Mark Frankel, he created the stages of aging. And in a nutshell, there's 5 stages. Obviously, the last one is the end of life as we pass on. But there are stages that we lead up to. Starting off with first, where each and every one of us may be self-sufficient. At this stage, this is where we are self-reliant. It means that we can manage our chronic health problems or maybe any disabilities on our own and have little need for others, as he mentioned. So it's important to understand, you got to evaluate your health, he says, and the type of care and how we pay for them, which leads us to the second stage, which is called interdependence. At this stage, you become more reliant on others. And in this, you may rely on certain things like maybe a child that you have, a partner, maybe a spouse, or a friend for assistance. Then we go to the third stage, which is the dependency. This is a gradual experience that may be into progressive decline in physiological functioning. So what happens in this stage is that you begin to cope with multiple chronic conditions or even pain. Then we get to the fourth stage, which is the crisis management. At this stage, this is where the family is really involved in the crisis management. And for everyone at this stage, be it your physical health and or mental conditions have declined to a point or to a degree that you have to remain dependent on others, leading to the last stage, which is the end of life. And Frankel's end of life phase occurs, he mentioned, when you have no other choice but to move, unfortunately, to some people into a nursing home. And at this period, this is where family members and friends deal with the complex end of life decisions. And at this end of life care, it requires support from healthcare aides and others. So when you look at healthy aging, each and every one of us, we want to reverse the aging process. I know when we were studying and we learned about if you do have problems with your lungs, for example, if you smoke too much, or if you have liver problems, if you take too much drugs or alcohol, if you mitigate these unnecessary things that you're taking in, you can regenerate certain organs back. However, we cannot, I repeat, we cannot reverse everything about aging. We could decelerate and we could slow down the death of cells, maybe, for example, in the brain, but it will be a miracle if people found something eventually that we could actually say, this is anti-aging, we could replenish and regenerate every cell in our body, especially in the brain. But beside the brain, let's start off with what organs that we have to focus on when we age. The first one is the cardiovascular system. The most common change in the CVS, known as the cardiovascular system, is what we call stiffening of the blood capillaries and arteries. And this causes our heart to work harder to pump blood through them. And the heart muscles change to adjust to the increased workload. So your heart rate at rest will stay about the same. However, it will not increase during activities as much as it used to when we're getting into maybe our fourth, fifth, sixth decade of life. And these changes increases the risk of high blood pressure, otherwise known as hypertension and other cardiovascular problems. So for us to start up the process with helping with the cardiovascular systems, I'll just go through very quickly before we move to the next organ. What are ways that we could help to mitigate some of the problems of cardiovascular aging? Number one, we need to increase physical activity every day. Number two, choose a better diet, more fruits, more vegetables, whole grains, lean proteins, things like fish, and limit saturated fat and salt. Number three, cut down or avoid smoking. Next, manage your stress. We all know that hypertension and certain heart attacks is the silent killer. We have all heard that. So we need to take steps to reduce stress and things like meditation, exercise, and talking with someone. These are all good things. And last but not least is get enough sleep. Studies are actually showing if we don't get enough sleep, it could lead to obesity, lead to hypertension, and lead to problems with our cardiovascular system. Next is skeletal, which involves our bones and muscles. And I'd like to just define two things very quickly. Number one, as we age, our bones tend to shrink in size and density. So we have a term called osteoporosis. This is otherwise known as the fragile bone disease. This is characterized by a loss of bone mass, which is caused by a deficiency in calcium or deficiency in vitamin D, even deficiency in magnesiums, as well as some other trace vitamins and minerals. On the other hand, we have something called osteopenia. This is commonly seen in people over the fifth decade of life, age 50, and they have in general a lower than average bone density, but they may not have osteoporosis. So what's the difference? The difference between osteopenia and osteoporosis is that in osteopenia, the bone loss is not as severe as in osteoporosis. So there are three things that you could educate yourself and start to do right now as we get the age and process, as we get older. Number one, get adequate amounts of calcium. Simple, maybe taking at least 1,000 milligrams on a daily basis for adults. If you are older than 51, maybe you can increase that dosage amount. Number two, get adequate amounts of vitamin D. We all know in the past year and a half, almost going 2 years, social distancing, we're more confined to indoors, we're not getting outside. We need to get adequate amounts of vitamin D. Very important. So things like tuna, eggs, salmon, but most importantly, foods that are fortified with vitamin D are very important, especially when taking vitamin D supplements. Last thing is you got to increase your physical activity every day. Things like weight-bearing exercises. So I suggest, for example, climbing stairs, using lightweight training, light weights. These are great things to help to prevent and slow down the aging process. Next is the digestive system. As most people know with age, all our bodily functions begin to slow down. It takes its task, especially when we get into the problems of the large intestine. In fact, many clients, many people complain of constipation. That is one of the most prevalent digestive problems. So to prevent constipation, many people resort to medication, diuretics. There's all these other contributing factors that when we have constipation, it may be related to other medical condition. But the key thing, three key things to prevent constipation. Number one, make sure your diet includes high fiber foods. I mean things like fruits, vegetables, whole grains. You got to start limiting your high fats, especially meats, dairy products, and really a lot of sugar, sweets, which are all linked and can cause constipation. Number two is to make sure you drink lots of water, lots of fluids. And I mean, water is very important. You cannot add like pop or coffee or other things with sugar. It has to be lots of water. And third, you got to increase your physical activity, movement. You got to have movement, especially with the large intestine. You got to have water, fiber, and movement to make sure you have regular bowel movements. Another organ that's very important to understand is as we begin to age, the elasticity decreases, especially in the bladder, urinary tract, and leading to things like people waking up in the night. We call it polyuria. You need to get up maybe 2, 3 times a night. You got to focus and see how we can strengthen that weakening of the bladder muscles, especially in the pelvic floor muscles, which allows us to empty the bladder. So to promote the health of the bladder and urinary tracts, there's about 5 things that we can do. Number one, don't hold if you have to go to the toilet. If you have to go, make sure you use it and make sure you have a regular schedule. Also, number two, maintaining a healthy weight. If you're overweight, obviously, you need to lose excess pound. That puts a lot of pressure in the internal organs and muscles. There's an exercise called the Kegel, Kegel. These are exercises to develop and strengthen the pelvic floor muscles on a daily basis. It only takes about 5 to 10 minutes. You could do this every day. And there's also the idea of not smoking, because if you smoke or use any other tobacco products, it could be detrimental to the overall health and blood circulation. And last, there's avoid bladder irritants. This is really from your diets. Caffeine, acidic foods, alcohol, carbonated beverages. These could all make incontinence worse. So you have to make sure to mitigate all those other factors to have a strong and healthy bladder and urinary tract. Then there's memory. Have we ever said, hey, I've lost my keys? Oh, where's my wallet? We will replace it. Or even we forget someone's name. These are all experiences, each and every one of us, especially for people nearing or over the age of 55. And these memory lapses, hey, let's face it, could be frightening. So people have all heard of Alzheimer's, so other types of dementia. So inevitably, each and every one of us, our brain undergoes changes as we age. There could be minor effects on our brain, our memory, our thinking skills. So it's important for us to be cognizant. It may take us a little bit longer to learn, a little bit longer to recall information. It used to be quick, but it's not as quick as it used to be. So aging is a major risk factor for any type of cognitive impairment. So what steps can we take? Well, there's 5 things I'd like to suggest besides quitting smoking. We could include physical activity in our daily routine. Actually, physical activity increases blood flow to the whole body, which includes your brain. So studies suggest that regular exercises is associated with better brain function. And also, what does it do? It helps reduce stress. It helps reduce depression. These are factors that are culprits that affect our memory. Second, eat a healthy diet. A healthy diet may benefit your brain. So focus on all the foods I mentioned earlier. Make sure that you limit the amount of alcohol, which can lead, obviously, to confusion and memory loss. Number 3, stay mentally active. Do more crossword puzzles. Pick up a new language. Staying mentally active can maintain and sustain memory and thinking skills. Other things besides play word games, taking up a new hobby, taking classes, maybe learning to play a new musical instrument. These are all things that are very important. And last, when you talk about people with memory, unfortunately, we are told to keep socially distancing. And guess what? With memory, you got to have social activities. Social interaction helps to ward off depression, helps to ward off stress, which are things that we need to make sure that we do interact because they help to increase the memory. Next is ears and eyes. Each and every one of us, we find things a little bit blurry as we get older. We get more sensitive to glare from the lights. We even find, excuse me, can you repeat? Loss of hearing, difficulty, especially high hearing, high frequencies, or following a conversation in a crowded room. So these are all the organs also involved as we age. So to promote eye and ear health, prevention is key. Schedule regular checkups. Follow your doctor's advice. If you have to wear glasses, start wearing it. If you have to get hearing aids, and also taking precautions. Make sure to wear sunglasses, or you could wear a wide brimmed hat on your head. So whenever you're outdoors, and make sure you use earplugs when you're around loud machinery. If you're in the job industry that involves a lot noisy machines, try to avoid loud, noisy areas, and also at the workplace. And then the last one is the skin. When you speak about skin, each and every one of us, as we age, it becomes thin, it becomes less elastic, and actually more fragile. The fatty substances, or I should say the tissue just below the skin, decreases as we age. So you can see these wrinkles that we're all afraid of, these age spots, and even small growths like skin tags are more common. So to promote the organ, the skin, is make sure you bathe or when you shower in warm, not hot water. You could use a good soap, mild soap with moisturizing. Take precautions whenever you're outdoors, like I said before, sunscreen and protective clothing. And even for smoking comes up once again because it contributes to skin damage, especially wrinkling. So now that I've talked and spoke about all the organs, last but not least, when we think about aging, it comes to libido, especially for men and women. It affects our sexuality. So with age, our sexual needs and performance might change. We may have illness, we may have taken medication, but specifically, one of the key things for women, they suffer from vaginal dryness called dyspareunia, and for men, incompetence, things like what we call ED, erectile dysfunction. So as we age, our organs, our mental affects organs, but when it comes to libido, to promote sexual health, you need to talk about concerns, get regular exercises, talk to your doctor. This is the way that even doctors can recommend suggestions like estrogen cream for vaginal dryness. There are natural herbs and supplements like, there's a lot of things like Dong Quai that vitamin E is very important. There's oral medication also for men for erectile dysfunction. There's herbs and all these other things to increase blood circulation. So it's very important to understand not only the mental, but also the physical aspect of all the whole body. We need to work on each and every one of us. Unfortunately, most people will not seek doctors. They're looking for natural solutions. They don't want to go on medication. So I'd like to introduce you now to certain supplements. And this one is called resveratrol. Most of the people, when they look at resveratrol, they don't get the idea that this is a plant compound. Two wonderful things it provides. It's got powerful anti-inflammatory, powerful antioxidant that can benefits for anti-inflammatory, anti-aging, even studies with anti-cancer. They scavenge when we call antioxidants. Why? Because resveratrol contains polyphenols that we can get from grapes. We could also get from berries and other food sources. And it's well known as the benefit of resveratrol when you speak about cardiac problems. It's got a cardioprotective action. Numerous studies examine the role of resveratrol in the heart health aspect. And it includes the ability to lower blood pressure, lower cholesterol, inhibit that hardening, that tightening on the plaques in the arteries known as atherosclerosis. sclerosis. So not all products are the same. When we think about resveratrol, there's a lot of people saying, well, it's pricey. Absolutely, because no one besides the company Maple Life Nutrition can provide quality of this group of compounds in what we call polyphenols, grapeseed, green tea, blueberry, goji, pomegranate, cranberry. You could see there's a host of all these different things packed in one convenient and very easy delivery. When it comes to liquids, not all liquids are the same, especially when you're thinking about capsules or tablets, difficulty swallowing. In fact, not everything you get what you pay for. When you look at resveratrol in a liquid format, 98% of what you take in will be delivered. In fact, according to the physician desk reference, 85 to 90% of nutrients that you get from Maple Life resveratrol and the liquid supplements are absorbed also very quickly within half a minute or less, and the absorbability is very high. I also want to also mention that Maple Life Nutrition is the only liquid formula that has approved with an NPN, tested, manufactured under the good manufacturing practices, and provides an NPN called the natural product number. So as you age, don't forget your body doesn't absorb vitamins in the same way. We talked about digestion, we talked about constipation, we talked about the other organs that are aging. This could be the cause of deficiencies that are making you probably tired, less focused among the other systems. So you need fast absorption. So liquid vitamins take less time to break down and be absorbed. So when you look at the physician desk reference with an 85 to 90%, it's very important to be cognizant that you need to make sure you take a quality product like resveratrol, which is a combination. So in summary, let me give you 5 things why take liquid extracts, especially resveratrol. Not only did I mention it's convenient, and obviously you get what you pay for, but it's a way that instead of taking pills for quicker absorption, number one, liquid vitamins or supplements always allow for more synergistic formulas. So by taking resveratrol, you can pack all the ingredients I mentioned, like grapeseed, green tea, blueberry, goji, pomegranate, cranberry, all packed, because what does it mean synergistic? Basically, it means you could pack more of the potent, powerful nutrients that work together synergistically to provide and produce a combined effect into a liquid formula that you cannot do in a pill. Number two, liquid vitamins are faster and more efficient than any other systems. So the first goal that you have to make sure, how do you break it down? Don't have to, like a pill or a tablet. You take it, absorb, and right away, a liquid vitamin is ready in the liquid form. So it doesn't have to be broken down in the body. Body doesn't have to digest it. Number three, higher concentration is possible with liquid vitamins. You could pack much more milligrams of any of the herbs or synergistic ingredients you use there. That's what we call the liquid advantage supplement. Number four, liquid vitamins are healthier and easier to take. When you look at certain food supplements, I should say chewables may be nice, may be good to taste, but watch out. Flavor enhancers, maybe more calories because of added sugar. So you want to get away from those. So that's a very good solution by taking liquid vitamins. And number five, liquid vitamins are more easily digested and provide immediate use to the body. Why? Because the absorption rate of liquids is well known, as I mentioned, 98%. But other forms of supplements, a lot of more cheaper ones, you cannot digest it. You cannot therefore absorb and make sure those vitamins, nutrients that you get from it are made available. So those are a lot of information I packed up there about why it's important to get resveratrol. And this comes available in a liquid format more affordable for all the information that I have just summarized, why it's more expensive. Next supplement, when you think about anti-aging, there's a lot of studies done on coenzyme Q10. Powerful antioxidant, lots of studies on anti-aging and cardiovascular research. There's also things that I've mentioned about infections. There's also people have actually shown if you do happen to take cardiovascular medication, statin drugs, it depletes coenzyme Q10. Most people who are on Lipitor depletes CoQ10. But the benefits of taking coenzyme Q10, and you have to supplement, especially for congestive heart failure, it actually improves smoothness and the wrinkling of skin, as you see when people begin to age. So CoQ10 is an excellent antioxidant that the body produces, but when we age, we don't produce enough, and when we're taking medication, it depletes it. So we need to add this excellent antioxidant, special role in scavenging, what we call it, getting rid of free radicals and reduces the oxidative stress. And just to finish off, I'd like to just quickly go over what are some of the supporting supplements beside resveratrol. There's acai berry, there's goji, there's grapeseed, which is more powerful than vitamin E grapeseed extract. There's the oligoproanthocyanidins, we call it, that helps in grapeseed to tighten the skin, prevent wrinkles, and also to prevent rough skin. So with all these combination here, they're very good for cardiovascular diseases. Acai is very good for eye problems with age-related macular degeneration. There's even studies with immune boosting qualities because it fights free radicals. I mentioned goji, traditional Chinese medicine. This is used for liver and kidneys, bladder, to replenish the essence and improve vision. So you could see there's a lot of things that it is just not one thing that will help. You need a multitude of stuff. And once again, in summary, besides the supplement, because we will all age, we need to exercise regularly. We need to focus on the good foods. We have to be mentally sharp. We have to make sure that we do things that reduces our stress. So aging is a complex program. So we need to have a complex array of arsenal that we can use with lifestyle changes, dietary habits, healthy exercising on a regular program, and making sure you take supplements like resveratrol. So thank you all very much. I will hand it over to Alvin, if you could say some words here now about our promo and coupons.
Okay, so before we go into the promo code for everyone, does anyone have any questions? If you do, you can unmute your mic and ask Elvis, or you can type it in the chat and I will relay that to Elvis. Thank you.
We should also mention, Alvin, as I said before, we do have recordings. Please pass on to colleagues who may have been busy, as we're all busy, but we're trying to find a right time that everyone can be also be accessible to your colleagues. And also, I wanted to mention, we're always looking for feedback for new ideas. What would you like to hear? What would you like to see? You could go on to www.familycarenutrition.com. We're very happy to answer your questions and get back to you.
Yep. So Rebecca asks, are all the products made in Canada?
Absolutely. All the products. One of the things I'm very happy to say, our company's been around for many years, over 2 decades. It's important to understand and make sure that you have to have a facility. We adhere to Health Canada regulations. We do take precautions on testing quality. Testing is very important. We need to make sure that we follow good manufacturer practices, because for every label that we have, it must be in that bottle. So Health Canada has very strict regulations. We follow good manufacturer practices. So thank you for asking that question.
Thank you for that. Stanley asks, how do I know which products are suitable for me?
Okay, it's important, like I mentioned, you check with your healthcare practitioner. You can call us. We'll be more than happy to expand more. For everybody, they're an individual that we have learned. What may work for someone may not work for another one. So for people who are in their 20s, as I know people have always told me, as soon as we're born, we begin to age, even from a very small age. But as we get into our 20s and 30s, you could take certain things that a multivitamin would be great. You could take vitamin E for circulation. There are certain things that I had mentioned that the goji, there's also things like immune enhancing, grapeseed. We could take certain things that can help to start the process of anti-aging. So grapeseed, acai, goji are great, vitamins are great, but it's important to understand that when we cannot reverse, and I mentioned that age like 51, where you get into menopause, when you get into problems with, for men with impotency, and as well as other things, resveratrol by far would be number one for me to recommend, because this has a gamut of all the great antioxidants. So working and calling and figuring out what age you are and prevention. But like I said, do not wait like most people till they retire. I'll exercise more. I'll cut down my sugar. Even in your early teens, you have to start your diet and exercise. But for those of you, I do understand we're very busy because of social distance. We cannot get out. You got to start maybe taking supplements in your 20s. But as you get into your 50s, you need more of that that boost, like resveratrol. And you could combine it with other things also too, to even have an additive benefit to help you out.
Thank you for that. So John asked, love all the info. When is the next webinar? So the next webinar, I believe, is on October the 20th. It's on a Wednesday at 2:30 as well.
Excellent. Same time. We like to have it at 2:30. So it's after, the evening time. Mid-afternoon is great. So we'll leave it at 2:30 unless we get more feedback to change the time. But October 28th is great. Wednesday is great. Thank you.
Okay, if there are no more questions, we can conclude this webinar. So today's promo code is Age Well for a $50 gift code to use at familycarenutrition.com. Thank you all for attending. We look forward to teaching you more at our next webinar. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you.
Have a good day, guys.
Okay.